Okay, so I'll also upload the slides in Google Classroom along with the recorded video. Okay, fine. Now, before going into the nitty-gritties of what a program or how to do a program, so let's say I want to tell something to a computer. Okay, so I want to tell to a computer that I want to display a particular image. So that's what my what I want, like what I want the computer to do. Okay, so basically I want to display an image. Let me choose a different color. So so this is my command to computer. Okay, you can give commands like, for example, you can, if you are a human being, like if you're talking to a human being, then you use a language. For example, use an English language or a Malayalam or any language that both of you know. So I can tell to a human being, okay, show me that image. If I tell like this, then he can take the image, print it out, and show it to you. Okay. But what about a computer? How will you tell to a computer that I want you to display a particular image? That's my question. A computer is a machine. Computer doesn't understand any of our languages. If you say in Malayalam, picture on the if you tell it like to this computer, then computer doesn't understand. It doesn't have an ear. It doesn't have a mouth to speak. It doesn't have an eye like humans. So how will you tell, or how will you make the computer understand that, okay, this is what I want to do? So that is called as instructing a computer. So computer is a machine basically, and it performs computational task also. That is fine. But you need to instruct to a computer that you need to do something. Okay, which is similar to issuing a written procedure to people. Okay, for example, let's say I can tell to my uh, my mother to make me some tea. So if I tell to my mother to make some tea, then she knows the procedure of how to make a tea. Like you need to take water, you need to take milk, you need to take tea powder, you need to take sugar, you need to start with boiling water, etc., etc., etc. So the procedure, since my mother knows that procedure, then I don't want to explain to her, okay, this is what you want to do. She knows the procedure. Now let's say I am going to tell to my 5-year-old daughter that please make a tea for me. No, she doesn't know how to make a tea. Okay. So then I need to explain to her what is the procedure first. Okay, like ideally I should not be asking my 5-year-old daughter to play with gas, but anyway, just for to give an example, I am just telling it. So then you need to first take some water, light up the gas, put the tumbler in the with water over the gas, let it boil. Then you should have milk with you. Should put, once it is boiled, then you should put the tea powder, then the milk, then the sugar, etc., etc. Okay, so you need to give to her my a written procedure. Okay, this is the first step, this is the second step, this is the third step, this is the fourth step. So that procedure is basically an instruction. Similarly, just like what I have asked my daughter to do, I can instruct a computer with a list of procedures saying that, okay, this is what you want to do. So instruction is basically a list of written procedures. And for computers, such a procedures are called as programs. Okay, so we list one by one what the computer should do. The computer will look at the first instruction in that list. It will execute that instruction. It will run that instruction. It will perform the task mentioned in that instruction. Then it will go to the next instruction. It will perform the task mentioned in the next instruction, and so on, so on. So basically, depending on how you give the instructions, the computer will perform. That is called as a program. If your instruction is wrong, whatever the computer performing is will be wrong. So it is you who controls the computer. It's not the other way. Okay. So you will have first instruction to the computer saying, okay, so let's say I want my computer to make a tea, or let's say I have a robot, humanoid robot, which can understand my instruction. So I will write a program. In the first instruction, I'll ask the robot to take a tumbler of water. Then I'll ask the robot to light up the gas. I'll ask the robot to um, boil the water taken, then etc. etc. Okay, so that programming, if I give to that robot, it will execute the program. So program is a set of instructions. Computer first reads and understands the entire program. It then executes the instructions in specified order. Okay. So the thing is, let's say I am giving the instructions to my daughter. Now, in the instructions, I might have made a error. Okay, like saying instead of asking her to put sugar, I might have asked her to put salt. So then the program or then the final output will be very wrong. Okay, so that error you need to find it out. Okay, so that error you can find it out in the case of the computer. The computer can read the instruction first and see if the instruction that you have provided is that the computer can understand. Okay, മലയാളത്തിൽ പറയുമ്പം മലയാളത്തിൽ ആണ് എന്ന് ആദ്യമേ മനസ്സിലാക്കി കഴിഞ്ഞാലേ നമുക്ക് മലയാളത്തിലുള്ളത് വായിച്ചെടുക്കാൻ പറ്റുള്ളൂ. ഹിന്ദിയിലാണ് പറയുന്നതെങ്കിൽ അത് ഹിന്ദിയാണ്, ഹിന്ദിയുടെ ഗ്രാമർ മിസ്റ്റേക്ക്, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഇംഗ്ലീഷ് ആണെങ്കിൽ ഇംഗ്ലീഷിന്റെ ഗ്രാമർ മിസ്റ്റേക്കോ അതുപോലെയുള്ള എന്തെങ്കിലും മിസ്റ്റേക്സ് ഇല്ലാതെ തന്നു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ മാത്രമേ അത് പ്രോപ്പറായിട്ട് എക്സിക്യൂട്ട് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റൂ. അതുപോലെ ഒരു കമ്പ്യൂട്ടറിന് അത് എക്സിക്യൂട്ട് ചെയ്യണമെങ്കിൽ ഇറ്റ് ഫസ്റ്റ് നീഡ്സ് ടു റീഡ് ആൻഡ് അണ്ടർസ്റ്റാൻഡ്. അത് അതിന് മനസ്സിലാകുന്ന ഒരു ലാംഗ്വേജ് ആണെന്ന് മനസ്സിലാക്കി കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ മാത്രമേ ആ പ്രോഗ്രാം അതിന് വായിക്കാൻ പറ്റുള്ളൂ. Okay, so that is called as compilation. We'll come to all these things. So as I said earlier, this is making a cup of tea. Okay, so take a cup of water in a vessel. പലരും പല രീതിയിലായിരിക്കും ചായ ഉണ്ടാക്കുന്നത്. This is how this is one way of making tea. Light up the stove and place the vessel over it. Add leaves, milk, sugar, into vessel. Boil for some time. Strain into a tea kettle. Serve in a cup. Strain into tea kettle means you are just pouring into a kettle. Okay, so this is the actual procedure of making a tea. Now let's change the order. So I am saying take a cup of water in vessel. Okay, that is fine. Now serve in a cup. Add tea leaves, milk, sugar in a vessel. Strain into a tea kettle. Light up the stove and place the vessel over it. Boil for some time. This is my new order. Now, if I do this kind of ordering for making a tea, my question is, will this procedure gives a good cup of tea? Okay, and the answer is no, because you have altered completely the order. So if you take a cup of water in a vessel and serve in a cup, so basically you are serving in some water in a cup. So that's not tea. And then you say add tea leaves, milk, sugar in a vessel. So you are just having a vessel without water. You are just adding some tea leaves, milk, sugar in a vessel and strain into a kettle. Basically, you are just pouring this leaf, milk, and sugar in a kettle. That's all. You are not boiling. You are not making any tea. So this order will not give you a nice cup of tea. So the order in which you are asking, or the order in which the procedure is being carried out, is very important. So programming. So if the order is changed, the result is different. So I have written a program in which I have first instruction, second instruction, third instruction, fourth instruction. And I'm sure that if I execute in this order, this will give me a result. Now, if I interchange the order, for example, the first instruction I had given as first, but then I gave the fourth instruction, then I gave the second instruction, then I gave the third instruction. Now, this will give me a result which is not decided. It might give you some result, but it will not be the one what you want. Okay, so the procedure should be in proper order. Now, since in computers a procedure is a program, if the order is changed, the program will be wrong. So if you have a wrong order of instructions or program, it will not give you the correct result. Okay, now coming into more technical details. A computer is capable of doing the following. Okay, what are things that a computer is capable of doing? First one, read the entire program and understand all instructions. That is called as compilation. Okay, so when you write a program first, the computer will just see through all the instructions. It will not execute, it will not carry out the instruction. but it will just see what you have written. Is the thing that you have written understandable to me or the computer? If it is understandable, then it is fine. Then I will start executing one by one. So this reading to understand whether the language that you have written is understandable, it is called as compilation. And once it is compiled successfully, once computer knows that okay, these instructions I can execute, this instructions I can understand, then the computer will carry out the instructions of the program one by one in the stipulated order, and this is called as execution. Okay, so do you have the order like 1 2 3 4? Okay, now the computer first it will do is it will read the instruction. So it will read first instruction, it will read the second instruction, it will read the third, it will read the fourth, and it will check if it is readable or if it is understandable. If it is understandable, then I say I have compiled my program. If it is not understandable, the computer or the program compiler will show you an error saying that okay, this particular word is not understandable, and we'll say that is called as a compilation error. Okay, we'll come into more in-depth details, but this is just to give you an overview. So once it is read and it is understandable and it is verified as understandable, then it will execute one by one. So it will execute the first instruction, it will execute the second, and so on. Okay, this is called as execution. Once the execution is done, you have run the program and you have got the output. Okay, so actually these slides were for my previous year's batch. So I had asked them to sit in CCF in our computer center, and they were teamed up two per machine, and they were asked to run this program. So that's why there is a let's run the program here. Okay, so that is okay. Okay, so this is a simple program. We'll see what are the things that is there in this program. Okay, this is a simple program where you are adding two numbers. That's actually the simplest program is printing hello world, but I don't want to go into this trivial thing. So I just wrote a program where you are adding two numbers. Okay, so this is the output. So this is done in Dev CPP. There's a software called as the Dev C++. So if you want to install the software in your laptop, you can do. I'll also at the end of the class, I'll also show you some tools which you can use to write a code and run even in mobile or in online. Okay. Okay. So this is the same program itself. So a program is a sequence of directives, declarations, and instructions. Okay. We'll see what a directive is, we'll see what a declaration is, and we'll see what an instruction is. And it is written according to some rules. Computer languages also have grammar. So this is written with respect to some rules. Okay. For example, when you are talking to somebody, you have some rules that you should follow. For example, if you're talking to your head of the department, okay, then you know that you should be polite. You should speak only the thing that you want. But if you're talking to your friend, then you don't need to be polite. Like ideally, you should be polite, but I know nobody will be polite. So then you can tell anything to him or her. Okay. So depending on to whom you are talking, there is some set of rules that you want to follow. Okay, and in computer also you should have some set of rules, and this calls a grammar. So even when you're talking in English, you have a grammar. Like if you use was instead of is or the instead of and, then that is wrong. So you have a set of rules, and this program is stored in one or more files, which I have an extension called as CPP. Okay, so my program name is add underscore to underscore numbers, and the extension is .cpp. Okay, now let's look at one by one. The first two statements is called as compiler directives. Okay, compiler directives is a part of the program which tells the compiler that Okay, there are some additional things also you should consider before reading the program. For example, in the program, you will have some commands. For example, cin is actually a command. Now the compiler need to know what should cin do, and it is defined in a separate header file called as iostream. So I am telling the compiler to include iostream.h file into compiling this program, and you should use a namespace called as std. So namespace is a collection of all these functions and different commands, etc. Okay, we will look at namespace later. Okay, so this is what before doing. So we are telling the compiler before starting the program, you go and fetch some things that I'm telling. For example, iostream.h and std, and you include this while compilation. That's what I'm saying. Okay, fine. So compiler understood this. It has gone into this file called as iostream.h. So this header file, so this .h file is called as a header file. It will not have any kind of executable code. Okay. We will see, actually this is a very vast topic, but I'm just concising it. Okay. And in, so it went to the header file. It sees that in the header file, there is some things written in the header file. So it just collects everything in the header file. So the header file iostream.h. So it has many instructions here. Yes, many instructions. So the compiler will go to this header file. It will fetch all these instructions and it will include here. Similarly for namespace std. Okay. So for compilation, the first step is you have the source code, which is in .c or .cpp or .h. And there's something called as a pre-processing. So whatever is done in this part is called as a pre-processing. Before doing compilation, what are the things that is being done is called as a pre-processing. So that is what is being done. And then it will include header, macro, expand. So this actually, although this is shown as 4 steps, it's actually a big research area on how to do pre-processing, compilation, assembling, and linking. Okay, so I'm not going to do in depth of any of this. So you will do the compilation. Okay, so what is our aim? I have a computer. I need to write a code which the computer understands and executes. So what is that a machine understands? Machine understands only binary, which is 1011001100. We can write a code in binary, that is totally fine, but it will be difficult for us to write a code in binary. Instead, we write a code in English, which is basically C or CVPP, and convert that into binary using a compiler and an assembler and a linker. Okay, so that you have a code in English. Basically, I am saying English because it is C or CVP is written in English. You convert into binary. Now, this arrow has actually many blocks in between. Okay, so you have written the code in English. It does a pre-processing. It does a something called as compilation. So once it is compiled, it will generate a code in .s format. It's called as an assembly code. I think you might have studied this in your microcontroller microprocessor in the previous semester when you are doing this 8051 or 8085. Okay, so it will convert into an assembly code, and thus there's something called an assembler which will convert into an executable file called as object file. You can't read an object file manually. Only the computer knows to read an object file. So once it is done an object file, it will do something called as linking. Linking means there are many things in the object file that the computer still don't understand. So it will try to go to some libraries and add to this object file. This is called as linking. So I'm not going into again details of this. It will create the machine code, which is the executable file. So machine code means basically this 1010. So it has converted into a machine code which has values 10110010. Okay. So this is the procedure. So it will do pre-processing, it will do compilation, it will do assembling, it will do linking, and it will convert the English that you have written into a binary or a machine code. Okay. So compiler directives are instructions to a compiler used when compiling your program to machine language. Include instructions from IOStream header file. That's what hash include IOStream does. Hash include IOStream will include instructions from header file. Okay. So input output handled as streams of bytes. IOStream, if you see, I means input, O means output. And stream is how you handle the input and output. So what is the input and output means? When you run a program, you can see that it gets outputted at some point, at somewhere. Okay, you can also type some input for the program. So that is what is called as an input output. Input string converted to internal representation of computer. Internal representation converted to stream of displayable character. So there is some internal conversion which is being happening. So using namespace std. Okay, what does it mean is names of objects in a program can be grouped in namespaces. For example, names of students in OOP are grouped in divisions. Okay, for example, we have EC1 and EC2. So the OOP class is divided into two namespaces, EC1 and EC2. So students are grouped in EC1, some students are grouped in EC1, and some students are grouped in EC2. Each namespace can give a name. So each division can be given a name. So the name of the namespace here is EC1, the other name is EC2. When referring to a name, we must indicate which namespace we are referring to. For example, in EC1, let's say I have a person called as Ravi. And in EC2 also, let's say I have a person called as Ravi. Now, if I want to address Ravi, I need to first tell whether he is from EC1 or he is from EC2. So since I have already grouped into EC1 and EC2, I can tell I want to call Ravi from EC1 or I want to call Ravi from EC2. Okay. If I haven't grouped it, let's assume that I haven't grouped. I am saying that there is only one class, EC, for OOP. And if I call Ravi, now there will be confusion whether it is Ravi. Let's say both of them have the same initials also, Ravi K. Actually, this happened in last year's class because there is an Adira K in both EC1 and EC2. So if we had grouped EC1, if we haven't grouped EC1 and EC2, then there will be a problem. We won't know to whom we are actually addressing. So namespace will help us in grouping the objects so that we can address them or access them easily. Okay. So in C++ program, we call namespace with that will come. Okay. So this is one thing that you can try out after deleting this. So okay, this is last year's slide, so they have tried out live in the session. Okay. Now coming to the next part of, so we have seen this part. Let's see what is the main and the brackets. So every C++ function or every C++ program should have a main function, and it usually returns an int. Means we'll see what a function is, but before that, okay. So execution, when the system starts reading the program or executing the program, it will first look for where this main function is. If the main function is defined, then it will go inside the main function and start looking at the code one by one. And the main function should start with a starting brace and end with an ending brace, a closing brace. Okay, there should be an opening brace and a closing brace. If it is not there, then it will show an error. If the main function is not there in your program, it will show an error. So the main function is very, very important. So this is where you are actually starting the program. and whatever is written inside the main function should be inside this opening brace and the closing brace. Okay. So literally the main part of the program, operating system invokes this function when you run your compiled program. So actually OS is the one which will tell to the program to start executing. So the OS needs to know where it should go and tell. So that point is the main function. So can pass one or more parameters in this function. We'll see that. In this example, no parameters are passed. Operating system gets back control of computer when this function ends. So when it ends here, it will go back to the operating system. Okay. Next, let's go inside the main function. So inside the main function, we have declared some variables. Okay. So my variable declaration here is A, B, and C. And I have declared them as integer variables. Int means the variable A, B, and C can take only values without decimal points. For example, 1, 2, 3. This is possible, but it is not possible to take points like 1.1, 2.1, 3.2, etc. This is called as integer variables. So this is called as a data type. We'll see in detail all these things. Okay. Once it is declared, then I can use the variable. Okay. So I can say C is equal to A plus B. So I am saying that you add A and B and you put the value inside C. So what is the value inside A and B? That is the next question. Where will you get the value? That is got from this expression, C. Okay, we'll see that. Variables are basic computational objects. Declaration, each variable must be named. So for example, the variable name for first variable is A, second variable is B, and third variable is C. That's the variable name. For each variable, we must indicate type of the value it can store. In this example, it is int. So in this example, we say that A, B, and C can store integer values. So we say that it should be of type int. Okay. So if it is int, it means it can store only integer values. It can have float, double, character, etc. There are different types. We'll see one by one. And the important part is a variable must be declared before it is used. So in this example, the usage of the variable is coming here. If you do C is equal to A plus B before doing this statement, int A comma B comma C, it will show you an error because you have used a variable which have been declared. So always in all the programs, first declare the variable and then you use the variable. Okay, fine. So that is about variables. Actually, you can for in case of variables, I can give a lecture for like 1, 2, or 3 hours. A lot of things to learn, but I'm just we'll do it in small steps. Okay. Input output statements. Now we saw that A, B, and C are declared. Now I want to, when you declare this variable, what it will do is you have in your machine the RAM, random access memory. When you run a program, the operating system will allocate a particular section of RAM to your program. When you declare a variable, the program will allocate a particular memory for each of this variable. This is A, this is B, this is C. If it is int, it is actually 4 bytes of memory. 4 byte means 4 into 8, 32 bits. Depends on compiler, but usually it is 4 bytes. So 32 bits means you can store a 32-bit number in that location. So how will you, then the next question is, what number should you store? Okay, so for that you do, in this example, you are asking to the programmer or the user to enter a number to be stored inside the variables A, B, and C. So you do cout, give 2 numbers. So it will I will show you the running the program. It will have a display in which it will ask give two numbers. So you will type, let's say 10 space 20. Okay, so Cin means you are getting the value that you have typed, 10 to A and 20 to B. So now this memory location now will have the values. A will be 20, sorry, A will be 10 and B will be 20. So then now the memory location is filled with value that you have typed. So cout give two numbers means it will type give two numbers. Cin A and B gives whatever you have typed after this, the two numbers will be put inside A and then to B. So A will, the first number will put inside A, second number will put inside B. Okay, so that will be inside this RAM. There's a memory location for A, there's a memory location for B. It will have values 10 and 20. Then you say cout sum is. When you say cout sum is, it will print sum is. Then here you see the sum is inside quotes. So it will print as it is. Here also give two numbers is inside quotes. So whatever you have written inside quotes, it will print as it is. If you haven't put any quotes, it will print, consider it as a variable, and it will print the value inside the variable. Okay. Here you are doing C is equal to A plus B. So you have a memory location called as C, and it will first do whatever is there on the right side. So in the right side, C is equal to A plus B. So this is the right hand side and this is the left hand side. Okay. So when the execution happens, it will first execute the right hand side, that is A plus B. So A plus B will be now 30. And then it will copy, so this is an assignment, C is equal to, it will copy the value on the right hand side to the variable in the left hand side. So the value on the right hand side is 30. The value 30 will be copied to the memory location of C, which is 30 here. Okay, it's a very important concept. Concept is like this: if you have an assignment statement, basically this equal to, this is called as an assignment statement. The system will first execute the value, execute the right hand side, and whatever value it has generated on the right hand side will be copied to the memory location of the variable in the left hand side. Let's say C is equal to A into B. So what it does is, first it will execute right hand side, which is 10 into 20, that is 200. It will copy this value to the variable inside the left hand side, which is C, and C has a memory location, the memory location will be 200. Okay, so very important concept. If you know this concept, I think you are at least 10% done. Okay, so whatever is there on the right hand side, it will execute that first, and then it will copy it to the left hand side if it's an assignment statement. Okay, and then when you say sum is, it will print sum is, and you say the variable name without quotes, that is C. So it will print the value inside the memory location of C, which is 20. Okay, I hope this concept is clear. Okay, so this is whatever I have told earlier. This is how we interact with the program, that is input-output statements. Cin allows input from keyboard, cout displays output on console. Essential components of most programs we will write. This is one of the most essential components that we write, because we need to give to the program an input and get an output. The window where we give the input from keyboard or output in the screen is called as a console. Okay, I'll try to show you in at the end of the lecture. And this C equal to A plus B is called as an assignment statement. Okay, this is instruction: add values in variables A and B and store it in variable C. So this is a memory location. This is also another memory location. A plus B means take the value from the memory location A add it with the value from the memory location B and store it in the memory location C. Okay, so this plus is called as an arithmetic addition operation expression. C is the destination of assignment. So this is called as assignment statement. And C is the destination for assignment. The execution is from right to left. That means it will execute from right to left. That is, first A plus B is calculated and then the result is stored in C. A plus B ആദ്യം കാൽക്കുലേറ്റ് ചെയ്യുന്നു എന്നിട്ട് അതിന്റെ റിസൾട്ട് എന്താണോ അത് സിയിൽ സ്റ്റോർ ചെയ്യും. And there is at the last there is a return statement which tells to the OS that I am returning from the program. So return control back to caller and pass the value 0. Okay, this actually comes in the function. We'll see the function later. So a function is called or invoked in the return statement by operating system by another function. Return returns control to the caller. So actually the main function was called by the operating system and it will return the control to the operating system. In our example, it is the operating system. It can also return a value to a caller. For example, we can say that, okay, I can return 1, I can return a value 2, etc., etc. So this is useful return result of computation, useful for indicating other stats, etc. So this all are, we will see again. And the last is, you have done something like // This is called as comments. Comments means something that will not get executed. This is only for your reference. If you want to read, this is normal English, and this is only for your reference. The compiler will not compile or execute these functions. Okay, but it's essential for good readability of program. For example, you might have written a program of 10,000 lines. Now, after you look at the program after 1 year, you don't know what you have written. So instead, what you do is, when you write the program, you put comments, you put // okay, this part of the code is for doing this. And then you go to the next line and they say, this part is for doing this. So that commenting is very important. So it can appear anywhere in the program, completely ignored by the compiler. This is very important. The compiler will not read the comments. It is only for your reference. As a good programming practice, insert adequate comments throughout your code. Make your program speak it through good comments. Good programming practice is you give as much comments as possible so that somebody who haven't written that program can also understand the program. So actually, through that, the person can make somebody else understand. The last and the most important one is, if you look at each and every executable statement, you see there is a semicolon. So after each and every statement, there should be a semicolon. If you miss a semicolon, it will not get compiled. It will show an error that there's a semicolon missing. So semicolon is the way for the compiler to understand that, okay, this is the end of the statement. So in the first case, it will understand that the first statement will end here. Second statement will end here. So the semicolon is, although it is a very, very minute detail, it is the most important one. If you miss a semicolon, the program will not work. Okay. So every statement in the program should end with semicolon. Without semicolon, the compilation will give errors. Okay. So that is the most important one. Okay. So this is a homework. So modify the program to find the sum of 6 variables. This you should submit by Wednesday. Okay. I'll upload the slides also, and I'll show you how it is done. Okay. So before closing this session, let me just show you how this program gets executed and everything. I'll just let me see if I can share my tab. Okay, I hope you can see my tab. Tab means my Chrome tab. So you see that I have a website called as onlinegdb.com. Okay, so in this one, if you go inside, you see that this is a usual C++ online compiler and debugger for C++. Okay, here you can write the program. Okay, so let me just copy paste my program. I don't know whether I'll be able to do copy pasting. Let me see. Yeah. So this is a program that I have copy pasted. Okay. So just give me an indent. So if there's an option to run here. I hope you can see my screen. Okay. There's an option to run here. So if you press run, okay, I need to choose a language. So here I'll choose the language as C++. Okay. So it will compile the program first. Okay. And it is showing some errors. Oh, sorry. The problem is when I copy paste from PDF, it will have some issues. Let me just rectify this. Similarly, you have an app called as CXX Droid for Android, and you can write the program in that app, and you can execute it also. Okay, so let me just finish up this one. Okay, okay, let's run this. So it is compiling. So here it is asking for give two numbers. I hope you are seeing this. Okay, give two numbers. This is basically from executing this statement. So now it has actually executed this statement C in A, B. So it is waiting for the user to enter something. That's why it is a blinking cursor here, because there's a C in statement. So if I do 10 space 20, now the value of A will be 10 and B will be 20. So it will display, it will do this operation, C is equal to A plus B. It will do A plus B, put the value of the result in C, and it will print sum is C. So C is a variable. So the value inside the variable, which is 30, will be printed. Okay. And this is the simplest way of program execution. Okay. Now, let me see if I can show you that my mobile in which I have the program. Sorry, the C++ CXX Droid. So make sure you do the assignment in any one. Either you can use this GDB online debugger, or you can use this app. So let me, I hope I can show you this. Okay, so let me just show the screen. I hope you can see my screen. So this is actually from my mobile. So you see that there is this app called as CXX Droid. Okay, so you can install this app. Actually, this will like it will be a similar interface. Like for example, this is CXX Droid. So you see there is int main etc etc. You don't want to put this these things like arguments for main function. You can just say bracket, and you can just here say see out. Hello, good. And you run this. Okay, sorry, I need to use this to have hash include IO stream, and then I need to say use name space std semicolon, and you say hello world semicolon, then you run. Okay, .h. So this is using namespace std. Semicolon. So you see that you will make a lot of mistakes, but fine. Okay. So this will give you that you have printed hello world. Okay. Similarly, you can do the summing program also. This. So make sure you make use of any of your the online compilers or apps, or if you're using laptop, you can do this Dev CPP. C++, etc., etc. Okay, so you complete the assignment. I'll upload this our lecture and the slides also in